The village was mesmerizing in its beauty, especially in winter. It felt like stepping into a fairy tale. Everything was different from the city. The fresh air, the quiet landscapes, the light frost. All of it filled Oleg with warmth as he arrived after many years away. This was the place where he had grown up until he turned 18 before leaving for university. Now he returned as an adult, with a good job, still single, and finally free to come back home. His grandparents didn't live long enough to see this moment. They would have been so happy. As for his parents, Oleg had lost them when he was just a year old. He only knew them from old photographs shown to him in childhood. He came here not for any special reason, simply to rest. During the January holidays, he could stay in the village for a while, forget the city rush, and work. Skiing would help with that too. Oleg had loved skiing since he was little. He and his grandfather often walked through the forest together, even shooting at hares a couple of times. Fully prepared, Oleg stepped outside, took a deep breath, and headed toward the forest. On the way, he chatted with old acquaintances and accepted an invitation to have a bit of something warm later that evening, just what he needed after a ski trip. At the edge of the village, Oleg put on his skis and rushed across a small field toward the narrow path hidden among tall fir trees. While moving toward the forest, he caught a glimpse of a dark figure in the distance. He didn't pay much attention. It could have been a fisherman or a hunter. The forest greeted him with the pleasant scent of pine. Everything was covered in pure white snow, with sun rays breaking through the branches here and there. The winding ski trail, with its little slopes and rises, gave him the same childlike joy he remembered. Carefully climbing a small hill, gaining speed on the way down, feeling the cold wind hit his face, Oleg forgot all his worries. The trails hadn't changed at all. He skied in circles, lost in memories. But every now and then, he noticed the same dark silhouette again. Oleg grew uneasy. Whenever he tried to look directly at it, the figure seemed to fade into thin air. He wondered if a hermit had settled in the forest, someone watching him. But that made little sense. News like that would have spread through the village in a day, so it had to be something else. Eventually, Oleg grew tired. He noticed a small cabin, one the whole village had built together years ago. He skied toward it, deciding to rest for a bit. It felt good inside. Clearly, hunters and fishermen still visited from time to time, drinking a bit of moonshine in secret. Oleg lit a fire in the stove and set some water to boil. He sat at the table, looking around, remembering how he used to sit here with his grandfather, listening to his stories. Sometimes the old man would tell such wild tales after a drink that you'd think he was born to be a storyteller. He sat there for a long time. Eventually, the water boiled. Someone had kindly left a bundle of herbs on the shelf, and Oleg made a warm drink, perfect after skiing. Suddenly, a knock sounded at the window. Oleg jumped, dropping his cup. Outside stood the dark silhouette. It watched him through the glass. There was no face, just the faint outline of clothing. The door opened, and the silhouette stepped inside, waving a hand. Its face slowly emerged. "Grandpa," Oleg whispered. Joy and sorrow trembled in his voice. His grandfather nodded and sat at the table. Oleg offered him some of the herbal drink, but he refused. What a reunion it was. Oleg began talking about his life, his troubles, his victories and failures. The old man listened silently, smiling at his grandson. The sun slowly sank behind the horizon. Evening fell, and Oleg finally finished speaking. His grandfather nodded and patted him on the shoulder. Suddenly, another silhouette appeared behind him. It was his grandmother. She smiled warmly, looking at Oleg with pride. Tears ran down his face. They sat like that all night, simply looking at one another. In the morning, Oleg returned to the village. He didn't go back to the city. He quit his job and moved back to the village for good. He settled there, even found a bride. He never forgot his parents. They visited him from time to time in the old house. And Oleg began a new life in the place where everything had once begun.